The stars looked cold and distant from the bridge of the Valiant Dawn. Admiral Connor Hayes stood with his hands behind his back, watching the endless darkness of space through the main window. He was a tall man in his 50s with gray hair at the sides of his head. His face showed years of hard decisions and sleepless nights. Tonight would bring more of both. Behind him, the bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. Lights blinked on control panels. Soft beeps marked the passage of time. Everything seemed calm, but Connor knew better. A storm was coming, and it would change everything for humanity. Captain Lisa Morgan walked up beside him. She was younger than Connor, maybe 40 years old, with short dark hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She carried a datapad in her hands. "The message came in again, sir," Lisa said quietly. "The Talvarian Empire is giving us 12 more hours to respond to their demands." Connor nodded slowly. The Talvarian Empire had sent their ultimatum 3 days ago. They wanted humanity to surrender all their colonies. They wanted humans to become workers for the Empire. They said humans were too primitive to rule themselves. If humanity refused, the Talvarians promised to destroy every human settlement in the galaxy. "How many ships are they sending?" Connor asked, though he already knew the answer. 200 warships, sir, all of them heading toward our border. They will arrive in less than a day. Lisa paused. The fleet is commanded by Grand Marshal Theron Vex. He has never lost a battle. He has conquered 17 different systems. Connor turned to face his captain. "And we are sending one ship to meet them." Lisa looked worried. "Sir, I know the Valiant Dawn is our most advanced ship. I know we have technology they have never seen. But 200 against one? Even with our advantages, the numbers are bad." "I know," Connor said, "but we cannot show weakness now. If we hide, they will think we are afraid. If we send a fleet, they will see us as aggressors. One ship sends a message. It says we are confident. It says we are ready." A young voice called out from across the bridge. "Admiral, incoming transmission from the Talvarian fleet." Lieutenant Jake Sullivan sat at the weapons station. He was only 28 years old, but one of the best tactical officers in the human fleet. He had brown hair and eager eyes. This would be his first real combat, and everyone could see the nervous energy in his movements. "Put it on screen," Connor ordered. The main display changed to show a Talvarian commander. Grand Marshal Theron Vex was not human, though he looked similar in some ways. His skin was gray and smooth. His eyes were large and completely black. He wore a dark uniform covered in medals and symbols of rank. When he spoke, his voice was deep and full of authority. "Humans," Vex said, his mouth turning into what might have been a smile. "Your time to respond has ended. We are entering your space. You will surrender your colonies now, or we will take them by force. Your primitive weapons cannot stop us. Your small fleet cannot protect you. Submit now and we will be merciful. Resist and we will destroy everything you have built." The transmission ended. The bridge was quiet. Connor could feel his crew waiting for his response. Some looked afraid. Others looked angry. All of them looked to him for guidance. "Jake," Connor said calmly, "prepare all weapon systems. Lisa, set course to intercept the Talvarian fleet. Navigation, plot the shortest route to their position." "Sir," Jake said, his voice uncertain, "should I charge the quantum disruptors?" "Not yet. Let them see us coming. Let them think we are foolish." Connor sat down in the captain's chair at the center of the bridge. "Open a channel to the Talvarian fleet. I want to send them a message." A few moments passed while the communications officer worked. Then she nodded. "Channel open, sir." "They are receiving." Connor stood again. He wanted Grand Marshal Vex to see him standing tall when he heard these words. "Grand Marshal Vex, this is Admiral Connor Hayes of the human warship Valiant Dawn. We have received your ultimatum. We have considered your demands. Our answer is no." He paused, letting the words sink in. "Humanity will not surrender. We will not become your slaves. We will not give up our homes. You call us primitive, but you do not know us. You think we are weak, but you have not tested us. You believe your numbers will save you, but you are wrong." Connor took a breath. The next words were the most important. "Grand Marshal, we are sending one ship to meet your fleet. Just one. If you are wise, you will turn back now while you still can. This is your only warning. We did not seek this war, but we will not run from it." "End transmission," Connor said quietly. The bridge was silent for a moment. Then Lisa spoke. "Sir, that was either the bravest thing I have ever heard or the most insane." Connor allowed himself a small smile. "Perhaps both." What is our status? All systems are ready, Lisa reported. Engines are at full power. Shields are charged. Weapons are armed and waiting for your command. Dr. Helen Carter entered the bridge from the side door. She was the chief science officer, a woman in her 30s with blonde hair pulled back in a tight bun. She carried a data pad and looked worried. Admiral, I need to speak with you about the quantum disruptors, Helen said. The test we ran showed they work perfectly, but we have never used them in actual combat. There are risks we cannot predict. I know, Doctor, Connor replied, but we built these weapons for a reason. We spent decades developing technology in secret while the galaxy ignored us. Now is the time to show them what humanity can do. Helen nodded but still looked uncertain. The quantum disruptors will pass through their shields as if the shields do not exist. The propulsion system will let us move faster than they can track. The neural network targeting will hit their weak points every time. On paper we should win, but Admiral, they have 200 ships. If anything goes wrong, if even one system fails, we will be destroyed in seconds. Then we will not let anything go wrong, Connor said firmly. He looked around at his crew. I know you are all afraid. I'm afraid too. But fear is not weakness. Fear keeps us sharp. Fear reminds us what we are fighting for. Every human colony is counting on us. Every family back home is trusting us to protect them. We cannot let them down. The crew seemed to stand a little taller. Jake checked his weapons one more time. The navigator plotted their course with steady hands. Even Helen looked more determined. Time to intercept, Connor asked. 4 hours at our current speed, Lisa answered. But sir, if we use the advanced propulsion, we could be there in 30 minutes. Connor thought about this. No, we go at standard speed. Let them see us coming slowly. Let them wonder why we are not afraid. Let them think about that message I sent. Sometimes the waiting is the hardest part of battle. Let them wait and worry. The valiant Dawn moved through space toward the Talvarian fleet. The ship was beautiful in its own way. It was not the largest ship ever built, but every line and curve had a purpose. The hull was dark gray, almost black, with small lights marking key sections. Most ships in the galaxy used crude engines that left bright trails. The valiant Dawn moved almost silently, its advanced systems barely disturbing the space around it. Inside the ship, the crew prepared for battle. Engineers checked every system twice. Medical teams got ready for possible casualties. Damage control crews stood ready to fix anything that broke. Everyone had a job. Everyone knew what to do. Connor spent the time thinking about the past. Humanity had always been underestimated in the galaxy. When humans first left their home planet and met other species, those species had laughed. They said humans were too aggressive, too emotional, too unpredictable. The major powers of the galaxy decided humans were not worth their attention. They let humanity stay in their small corner of space and forgot about them. That had been humanity's greatest advantage. While the great empires fought each other and grew comfortable with their power, humans worked. They studied alien technology and made it better. They took risks that other species thought were too dangerous. They never stopped pushing forward, never stopped trying to improve. The Talvarians, the Korthans, the Vrexians, all of them had become lazy. They had been powerful for so long that they stopped innovating. They used the same weapons their ancestors had used 1,000 years ago. They followed the same tactics. They never imagined that the primitive humans could possibly challenge them. Connor knew this was their chance to change everything. If the valiant Dawn could defeat this fleet, the entire galaxy would have to recognize humanity as equals. No more would they be ignored or threatened. No more would they have to bow to alien empires. Admiral, the navigator called out, "We are approaching the Talvarian fleet. They are forming battle formation. They are spreading out to surround us. Show me," Connor ordered. The main screen changed to show a tactical display. 200 red dots represented Talvarian warships. They were moving into a sphere formation with the valiant Dawn at the center. It was a classic tactic designed to attack from all sides at once. Against a normal ship, it would be devastating. "They are hailing us again," the communications officer said. "Put it on screen." Grand Marshal Vex appeared again. This time he was smiling. "Admiral Hayes, you are either very brave or very stupid. I am curious which one. You have brought one ship against my entire fleet. This will be over in moments. I will give you one final chance. Surrender now, and I will spare your crew. Refuse, and all of you The valiant Dawn moved through space like a ghost. One moment it was in the center of the Talvarian formation. The next moment it was behind their lines. The ship did not turn or accelerate the way normal ships did. It simply moved from one place to another, leaving confused enemies in its wake. On the bridge, Admiral Connor Hayes watched the tactical display with calm eyes. Around him, his crew worked with focused intensity. Every station had a purpose. Every person knew their job. "Jake, target their command ships first," Connor ordered. "Show them we can hit what we want when we want." Lieutenant Jake Sullivan's hands moved across his control panel. The neural network targeting system locked onto 3 Talvarian command vessels. The quantum disruptors charged with a low hum that everyone on the bridge could feel in their bones. "Targets locked, Admiral," Jake said. His voice was steady now. The nervousness from earlier had vanished. Firing, the quantum disruptors fired. They did not create bright beams like normal weapons. Instead, the projectiles seemed to flicker in and out of existence as they crossed space. The Talvarian shields, designed to stop energy weapons and missiles, did nothing. The quantum disruptors phased through the shields as if they were not even there. 3 Talvarian command ships went dark. Their engines stopped. Their weapons powered down. Their lights flickered and died. The ships were not destroyed, but they were completely disabled. They hung in space like dead metal, no threat to anyone. "Direct hits on all targets," Jake reported. "Their ships are offline. No casualties detected." Captain Lisa Morgan looked at Connor with wide eyes. "We hit them through their shields. They have never seen anything like this before." "No, they have not," Connor agreed. "That is the point. Continue the attack. Disable their weapons platforms next. I want them helpless, not dead." The Valiant Dawn moved again, this time appearing in the middle of a Talvarian battle group. The alien ships tried to fire, but the human ship was too fast. It dodged and weaved with impossible precision. The neural network targeting system predicted every movement the Talvarian ships would make before they made it. More quantum disruptors fired. More Talvarian ships went dark. Within 5 minutes, 30 enemy vessels were disabled. The remaining Talvarian fleet began to panic. Their formation broke apart as ships tried to retreat or regroup. Some fired wildly, hitting nothing. Others tried to run. On the bridge of the Talvarian flagship, Grand Marshal Theron Vex stared at his displays in disbelief. His gray skin had gone pale. His black eyes were wide with shock. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Their shields should not be able to withstand our firepower. Their weapons should not pass through our shields." His tactical officer looked terrified. "Grand Marshal, we have lost 30 ships. The human vessel is moving at speeds our sensors cannot track. Our weapons cannot hit them. Our shields cannot stop them. I recommend immediate retreat." "Retreat?" Vex shouted. "I have never retreated. I have conquered 17 systems. I will not be defeated by one primitive human ship." He pointed at the display. "All ships concentrate fire on that vessel. Everything we have. Destroy it now!" The remaining Talvarian ships obeyed. Every weapon they had fired at once. Energy beams, missiles, plasma charges, all of it converged on the Valiant Dawn. The amount of firepower was enough to destroy a small moon. The human ship's shields absorbed everything. The quantum shields flickered with each impact but held firm. Not a single shot penetrated. The Valiant Dawn continued moving as if the attack was nothing more than rain. "Shields at 95%, Dr. Helen Carter reported from her station. Their weapons are not powerful enough to stress our systems." Connor watched the Talvarian fleet struggle. Part of him felt bad for them. They were fighting with everything they had, but it was not enough. They had no idea how far humanity had advanced in secret. These aliens thought humans were still using primitive technology. "They were very wrong, Admiral," Jake said. "I can take out their entire fleet right now. Just give the order." Connor shook his head. "No, we have made our point. We could have destroyed them all in the first minute if we wanted to. Now we show them mercy. Lisa, open a channel to the Talvarian flagship." Lisa looked surprised. "Sir, you want to talk to them now? While they are still shooting at us?" "Yes," Connor said.
"That is exactly when I want to talk to them."
"When they realize their weapons cannot hurt us, but we are choosing not to destroy them. Open the channel." A moment later, Grand Marshal Vex appeared on the main screen. He looked different now. His uniform was torn. There was blood on his face. His expression showed fear and anger mixed together. "Grand Marshal," Connor said calmly, "I want you to understand something. We could have destroyed your entire fleet in the first 30 seconds of this battle. We have weapons you cannot defend against. We have shields you cannot penetrate. We have speed you cannot match. But we chose not to kill your people. Vex stared at him with hatred in his black eyes. If you are so powerful, why not destroy us? Why show mercy? Because humanity is not interested in conquest, Connor replied. We are not your enemies unless you force us to be. We want to live in peace. We want to be left alone. But if anyone threatens us, if anyone tries to enslave us, we will defend ourselves. And as you have seen today, we can defend ourselves very well. Connor leaned forward. Take your ships and go home, Grand Marshal. Tell your Emperor what happened here. Tell him that humanity is not prey. Tell him that we are not primitive. Tell him that if he sends another fleet, the result will be the same. Or worse, he paused, letting his words sink in. You have 1 hour to gather your disabled ships and leave. If you are still here after that, I will consider it an act of continued aggression. Do you understand? Vex looked like he wanted to argue, but he could see the truth in Connor's eyes. The human admiral was not bluffing. He had the power to destroy them all, and he was being merciful. Pride and survival battled on Vex's face. Survival won. We will leave, Vex said quietly. But this is not over. My Emperor will hear of this. The entire galaxy will hear of this. Good, Connor said. I want the galaxy to hear about this. I want everyone to know that humanity can defend itself. Now go, the transmission ended. Connor turned to his crew. All stations stand down from combat alert. Maintain defensive posture until the Talvarians leave. Jake looked disappointed. Sir, we could have won completely. We could have destroyed their entire fleet. We did win, Connor said. But if we destroyed them, we would just be another violent species. By showing mercy, by letting them go, we prove that we are better than that. We prove that humans can be powerful without being cruel. That message is more important than any military victory. Lisa nodded slowly. I understand, sir. You want the galaxy to see us as reasonable, as people who fight only when necessary. Exactly, Connor said. Today we showed our strength, but we also showed our character. Both are important. The crew watched as the Talvarian fleet began to retreat. The disabled ships were towed by the ones that could still move. It was a slow process, but the aliens were clearly in a hurry to leave. Within the hour, all of them were gone. Set course for home, Connor ordered. I think we have earned some rest. As the Valiant Dawn turned toward human space, Dr. Helen Carter approached Connor. She looked worried. Admiral, I have been monitoring galactic communications, she said quietly. The battle was recorded. The footage is already spreading across the galaxy. Every major power has seen it by now. Is that a problem? Connor asked. I do not know, Helen admitted. Some species will be impressed. Some will be frightened. Some will see us as a threat that needs to be eliminated before we grow stronger. We have changed the balance of power in the galaxy. That will have consequences. Connor looked out at the stars. I know, but we could not hide forever. Better to show our strength now on our terms than to wait until we had no choice. The ship continued on its journey home. Behind them, the battle site was empty except for some debris. But across the galaxy, the news was spreading like wildfire. A single human warship had defeated an entire Talvarian fleet without taking damage. It seemed impossible, but the recordings did not lie. On the Corthan Collective homeworld, military leaders watched the footage with great interest. They saw opportunity. If humanity could weaken the Talvarian Empire, the Corthans could take advantage of the chaos. Diplomat Kyle Bennett was ordered to make contact with humanity and propose an alliance. In the Vrexian Dominion, the High Council met in emergency session. They debated whether humanity was a potential ally or a danger that needed to be stopped. Finally, they decided to send Agent Nina Cross to infiltrate human territory. She would gather intelligence and report back. And in the Talvarian Empire, Emperor Carvoth watched the footage in silent rage. His most decorated general had been defeated by a single human ship. The Emperor's pride was wounded and his reputation was damaged. He would not accept this humiliation. He called for his military council and ordered them to prepare the Crimson Armada. The Crimson Armada was legendary. It had 500 warships, all of them bigger and more powerful than the ships Grand Marshal Vex had commanded. The Crimson Armada had never lost a battle. It was commanded by Supreme Commander Victoria Kane, a brilliant strategist who had studied every major conflict in galactic history. The Human Defense Council met in an underground facility on Earth. 12 people sat around a long table. These were the leaders who made decisions for all of humanity. Admiral Connor Hayes stood at the head of the table explaining the situation. The Crimson Armada will arrive within a month, Connor said. 500 warships, all commanded by Supreme Commander Victoria Kane. She is not like Grand Marshal Vex. She will not underestimate us. She has studied our tactics and will be ready for them. One of the council members, an older woman named Patricia Stone, spoke up. We have 3 ships like the Valiant Dawn. Can they defeat 500 enemy vessels? Connor shook his head. I do not know. The Valiant Dawn, Silent Thunder, and Morning Star are powerful. But 500 against 3? Even with our technology, those are bad odds. We need a better strategy. Captain Lisa Morgan stood up. She had been working on a plan. I proposed something called Project Cascade. Instead of meeting the Crimson Armada in one big battle, we strike their military bases across the Empire. We force them to split their forces to defend multiple locations. We turn their size into a disadvantage. Another council member, a man named Gregory Mills, frowned. That sounds like we would be attacking them, not defending ourselves. Would not that make us look like the aggressors? They already declared war on us, Lisa replied. They threatened to destroy our colonies. We have the right to defend ourselves however we need to. If we wait for them to come to us, we fight on their terms. This way we control the battle. Connor nodded. I agree with Captain Morgan. We cannot just sit and wait. We need to be aggressive, but we also need to be smart about it. Dr. Helen Carter entered the room carrying a datapad. She looked tired. I have been working on something that might help. I call it the resonance array. It is a weapon that could disable an entire fleet at once by creating a feedback loop in their power systems. Everyone at the table leaned forward with interest. Could it really stop 500 ships? Patricia asked. Helen hesitated. Maybe. The calculations show it should work. But I have not tested it. And there is a risk. If something goes wrong, the feedback could destroy our own ship instead. I need more time to be sure. How much time? Connor asked. 2 weeks, maybe 3, Helen said. And even then I cannot guarantee it will work. Connor thought about this. Do the best you can, Doctor. We will use Project Cascade to buy you time. If we can delay the Crimson Armada and weaken them before the final battle, that gives us a better chance. The council voted. Project Cascade was approved. Connor would take the Valiant Dawn and conduct strikes on Talvarian military installations. The Silent Thunder and Morning Star would protect human colonies and evacuation routes. It was risky, but they had no other choice. As the meeting ended, Connor received a message. A diplomatic delegation from the Corthan Collective had arrived and wanted to meet with him. Connor was suspicious. The Corthans were known for being untrustworthy, but he agreed to meet them anyway. The Corthan diplomat was a man named Kyle Bennett. He was tall and thin with pale skin and cold blue eyes. He smiled too much, and his smile never reached his eyes. Connor did not like him immediately. Admiral Hayes, Kyle said with that fake smile. Thank you for meeting with me. I represent the Corthan Collective. We have watched your battle with great interest. Very impressive. What do you want? Connor asked directly. He did not have time for games. Kyle's smile widened. To offer friendship. The Talvarian Empire has been a problem for many species. You have shown they can be defeated. The Corthan Collective would like to propose a formal alliance. Together, we could crush the Talvarians and divide their territory. Connor studied the diplomat carefully. And what would humanity gain from this alliance? Military support, technology sharing, trade agreements, Kyle said smoothly. The Corthan Collective is powerful. With our help, you would not have to face the Crimson Armada alone. It sounded good. Too good. Connor knew the Corthans had a reputation for betrayal. They would promise anything and then break their promises when it suited them. I will consider your offer, Connor said, but I cannot make this decision alone. I need to discuss it with my government. Give me a few days, Kyle nodded. Of course. Take all the time you need. But remember, the Crimson Armada is coming soon. You will need friends when they arrive. After Kyle left, Lisa entered Connor's office. You do not trust him, she said. It was not a question. No, Connor admitted. The Corthans are opportunists. They see a chance to weaken the Talvarians and want to use us to do it. I doubt they would actually help us if things got difficult. So what will you tell them? Lisa asked. I will propose a non-aggression pact instead of a full alliance, Connor said. That way we are not enemies, but we are not depending on them either. We fight our own battles. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, Agent Nina Cross arrived at a human research station. She was pretending to be a refugee fleeing from Talvarian attacks. The humans believed her story and gave her shelter. They had no idea she was actually a spy for the Vrexian Dominion. Nina was human by birth, but she had been raised in Vrexian space. Her parents had been diplomats who died when she was young. The Vrexians took her in and trained her as an intelligence agent. She had been taught that humanity was dangerous and barbaric. Her mission was to learn about human technology and find weaknesses. But as Nina lived among humans, she began to question what she had been taught. The people she met were not barbaric. They were kind and welcoming. They helped each other. They cared about their families. They were not so different from any other species. She gained access to research files and learned about humanity's technological development. What she discovered amazed her. While other species had become comfortable and stopped innovating, humans never stopped trying to improve. They took risks. They experimented. They failed and learned from their failures. The quantum disruptors, the advanced propulsion, the neural targeting systems, all of it came from humanity's willingness to try new things. Other species said certain things were impossible. Humans asked why not and found ways to make them possible. Nina sent regular reports back to the Vrexian High Council, but she began to leave out certain details. She found herself not wanting to help them destroy humanity. The conflict in her heart grew stronger each day. Then she discovered something that changed everything. In a secret file, she learned about the Vrexian null field generator. It was a weapon designed to suppress all advanced technology in a large area. The Vrexians had been developing it specifically to counter humanity's technological advantages. The file showed that the Vrexians planned to share this weapon with the Talvarians. If the Crimson Armada had a null field generator, the Valiant Dawn's quantum shields and disruptors would stop working. Humanity would lose their only advantage. Nina made a decision. She could not let this happen. She had to warn humanity, even if it meant betraying the Vrexians who raised her. She contacted Admiral Hayes through an encrypted channel and requested an urgent meeting. Connor was suspicious when he received the message. But the information Nina offered was too important to ignore. He agreed to meet her in secret. They met in a small room on a remote station. Nina told Connor everything. She revealed her true identity as a Vrexian agent. She explained about the null field generator. She showed him the technical data she had stolen. "Why are you telling me this?" Connor asked. "You are betraying your own people." Nina looked him in the eyes. "I was raised to believe humans were the enemy. But living among you, I learned the truth. You are just people trying to survive. You do not deserve to be destroyed because other species fear your potential. I'm choosing the right side even if it costs me everything." Connor believed her. He could see the sincerity in her face. "If you help us, the Vrexians will consider you a traitor. You can never go back." "I know," Nina said quietly. "I am asking for asylum. Let me help you fight this weapon. I know how it works. Maybe we can find a way to counter it." Connor agreed. He brought Nina to meet Dr. Helen Carter. Together they studied the null field technology. Helen was brilliant, and with Nina's inside knowledge they began developing countermeasures. "The null field has weaknesses," Helen explained to Connor. "It requires enormous power and has limited range. More importantly, it takes several minutes to start up. If we can detect it activating, we might have time to adapt our systems." "How?" Connor asked. "I call it adaptive shielding," Helen said. "Our shields can recalibrate to use different technological principles. If the null field suppresses quantum technology, we switch to plasma technology. If it suppresses that, we switch to something else. It is not perfect, but it might keep us alive long enough to destroy their generator." Connor felt a small measure of hope. They had a chance. It was not a good chance, but it was something. Project Cascade began. The Valiant Dawn struck 3 Talvarian military bases in a single day. Connor used the ship's speed to appear in multiple locations within hours. Each strike was precise. They destroyed weapons factories and shipyards but avoided civilian targets. The goal was to weaken the Empire's military, not to terrorize innocent people. The attacks created panic in the Talvarian Empire. Supreme Commander Victoria Kane was forced to split her forces. She sent detachments to... The siege was taking its toll. Human colonies struggled without supplies. Children went hungry. Hospitals ran out of medicine. The Silent Thunder and Morning Star worked constantly to evacuate civilians, but they could not save everyone. Some colonies, seeing no hope, raised white flags and surrendered to the Talvarians. Admiral Connor Hayes felt the weight of every lost colony. Each surrender was a personal failure. He sat alone in his quarters on the Valiant Dawn, staring at reports. The ship had been running non-stop operations for weeks. The crew was exhausted. Systems needed repairs, but there was no time to rest. Captain Lisa Morgan entered without knocking. She looked as tired as Connor felt. "Sir, we just got another distress call from the colony on New Haven. They are completely surrounded. They have food for maybe 3 more days." Connor rubbed his eyes. "Can the Morning Star reach them?" "Not without leaving 2 other colonies undefended," Lisa said. "We do not have enough ships. We cannot be everywhere at once." The frustration in her voice was clear. They were losing this war slowly, 1 colony at a time. Supreme Commander Victoria Kane had them trapped. She did not need to defeat them in battle. She just needed to wait until humanity ran out of resources and hope. "The Defense Council is demanding action," Lisa continued. "They want us to attack Kane's flagship directly. They think if we can take her out, the rest of the fleet will fall apart." "That is exactly what Kane wants us to think," Connor said. "She has positioned her flagship as bait. The moment we attack it, the entire Crimson Armada will close in, and they will activate the null field generator. Our ship will be helpless, so what do we do?" Lisa asked. "We cannot keep running forever. The crew is breaking down. Jake made 3 targeting errors yesterday. People are making mistakes because they are too tired to think straight." Connor stood up. "We do what we have been preparing for. We end this, one way or another." He called a meeting with his senior officers. Lieutenant Jake Sullivan arrived looking pale and shaky. Dr. Helen Carter brought her data pads with all the information about the resonance array and the null field. Agent Nina Cross joined them as well. She had been working with Helen on the countermeasures. "The resonance array is ready," Helen said. "I have tested it as much as I can without actually using it. But I need to be honest with you all. There is a 30% chance it will not work as planned, and a 10% chance it will overload and destroy us." The room was quiet. Those were not good odds, but they were the only odds they had. "What about the adaptive shielding?" Connor asked. "Can it protect us from the null field?" Nina answered this time. "It will help. When the null field activates, you will have maybe 2 minutes before all your systems fail completely. The adaptive shielding will keep basic functions working during that time, but only basic functions. No weapons, no advanced propulsion, no quantum shields." 2 minutes, Jake said quietly. "That is not much time." "It is enough," Connor said firmly. "We activate the resonance array the moment we detect the null field starting up. The 2 technologies will clash. If we time it right, the null field generator will overload before it becomes fully operational. Kane's flagship will be disabled." "And if we do not time it right?" Lisa asked. Connor looked at each of them. "Then we die fighting. But we do not give up. We do not surrender. We show the galaxy that humanity will never bow to tyrants." He stood up. "I am setting course for the Crimson Armada's main formation. We are going to attack Kane's flagship directly. This is what she has been waiting for. This is what she wants, so we will give it to her." Lisa looked shocked. "Sir, that is suicide. The entire enemy fleet will converge on us." "Yes," Connor agreed, "but that also means all their ships will be in one place. If the resonance array works, we can disable the entire Crimson Armada in one strike. We end the war in a single battle." He paused. "I know what I am asking. I know the risks. Anyone who wants to leave can take a shuttle to the nearest colony. I will not force anyone to come on this mission. This has to be a choice. Nobody moved." Jake spoke first. "I am staying, sir. I have come this far. I am not leaving now. I am staying too," Helen said. "Someone needs to operate the resonance array, and I built it so I know it best." Nina nodded. "I betrayed my old life for this. I am not backing out now." Lisa smiled slightly. "You know I am staying, sir. Someone has to keep you out of trouble." One by one, every member of the crew confirmed they would stay. They were afraid. They knew they might die. But they believed in what they were fighting for. They believed in each other. And they believed in Connor's leadership. The Valiant Dawn changed course. Instead of running, instead of hiding, it headed straight toward the heart of the Crimson Armada. The massive enemy fleet was gathered around Kane's flagship, the Eternal Conquest. It was the largest warship in the Talvarian Navy, 3 times the size of any other vessel. On the bridge of the Eternal Conquest, Supreme Commander Victoria Kane watched the Valiant Dawn approach. She was a tall woman with silver hair and sharp features. Her eyes were cold and calculating. She had studied the humans carefully and felt confident she understood their tactics. The human ship is approaching at full speed, her tactical officer reported. They are making no attempt to hide or maneuver. They are coming straight at us, Kane smiled. Finally, Admiral Hayes has decided to make his last stand. How brave. How foolish. She turned to her weapons officer. All ships battle formation. Surround them on all sides. When they get close enough, activate the null field generator. I want to see the look on their faces when their precious technology stops working. The Crimson Armada moved into position. 500 warships formed a sphere with the Eternal Conquest at the center. The Valiant Dawn flew directly into the trap. Every Talvarian sensor was focused on the human ship. Every weapon was locked and ready to fire. On the Valiant Dawn, Connor addressed his crew one last time. He activated the ship-wide communication system so everyone could hear him. This is Admiral Hayes. In a few moments, we are going to fight the most important battle in human history. Not because we want to, but because we have to. The Talvarians believe they can conquer us. They believe we are weak. They are wrong. He paused, choosing his words carefully. We are not weak. We are strong because we fight for something bigger than ourselves. We fight for our families, for our friends, for every human who has ever dreamed of freedom, for every child who deserves a future without fear. The odds are against us. They always have been. But humanity has never let bad odds stop us. We take impossible challenges and make them possible. That is what makes us human. That is what makes us great. So whatever happens in the next few minutes, remember this. We did not surrender. We did not run. We stood up and fought for what we believe in. And that is something no one can ever take away from us. The crew cheered. Their fear was still there, but it was mixed with pride and determination. They were ready. All stations prepare for combat, Connor ordered. Helen, charge the resonance array, but do not activate it yet. Nina, monitor for any sign of the null field starting up. Jake, weapons ready, but hold fire. Lisa, when I give the word, maximum speed directly at their flagship. We are going through them, not around them. The Valiant Dawn entered the Crimson Armada's formation. Talvarian ships surrounded them on all sides. Connor could see the Eternal Conquest ahead, massive and threatening. Kane was probably watching him right now, thinking she had won. Incoming transmission from the Eternal Conquest, the communications officer said. Put it on screen, Connor said. Supreme Commander Kane appeared, looking confident and pleased with herself. Admiral Hayes, you have fought well, but this ends now. You are surrounded. Your ship is alone. Surrender, and I promise your crew will be treated fairly. Connor stared at her calmly. Commander Kane, I appreciate the offer. But you should know something. We are not here to surrender. We are here to win, Kane laughed. Win? How exactly do you plan to defeat 500 ships with one? Watch and learn, Connor said. He cut the transmission. Kane's smile faded. She turned to her crew. Activate the null field generator now. On the Valiant Dawn, alarms started blaring. Detecting massive power surge from the Eternal Conquest, Nina shouted. The null field is starting up. We have 2 minutes before it reaches full power. Helen, activate the resonance array, Connor ordered. Helen's fingers flew across her controls. Activating now. Array at full power in 3, 2, 1. The two weapons activated at almost the same moment. The null field tried to suppress all advanced technology in the area. The resonance array tried to create feedback loops in the enemy power systems. The two technologies collided in a spectacular clash of energy. Space itself seemed to shimmer and distort. Lightning-like arcs of energy jumped between ships. The Valiant Dawn's systems flickered and struggled. The quantum shields went down. The advanced propulsion cut out. For a terrifying moment, the ship was helpless. Then the adaptive shielding kicked in. Basic systems came back online. The ship could move, but slowly. They had weapons, but only conventional ones. It was like fighting with one hand tied behind their back. But on the Eternal Conquest, something worse was happening. The null field generator was not designed to interact with technology like the resonance array. The feedback was catastrophic. Sparks flew from. The debris from the Eternal Conquest floated in space like scattered stars. Escape pods drifted away from the wreckage carrying survivors. Admiral Connor Hayes kept his word. The Valiant Dawn, along with human rescue ships that arrived shortly after, helped save every Talvarian life they could. Even former enemies deserved compassion. Supreme Commander Victoria Kane was picked up by a human rescue team. She sat in the medical bay of a human ship, her silver hair disheveled, her uniform torn. She looked at Connor when he came to speak with her. There was no hatred in her eyes anymore, just exhaustion and respect. "You could have destroyed us all," Kane said quietly. "Why did you show mercy?" Connor sat down across from her. "Because being powerful does not mean being cruel. We fight to defend ourselves, not to destroy others. Your people were following orders. They do not deserve to die for their emperor's pride." Kane nodded slowly. "You are not what I expected. The galaxy has underestimated humanity. I underestimated you. That was my mistake. What will you do now?" Connor asked. "Return home if you allow it," Kane said. "And tell my emperor the truth. That this war is over. That humanity has won. That we need to make peace before more people die needlessly." Connor stood and offered his hand. Kane looked at it for a moment, then shook it. A small gesture, but it meant everything. It meant that enemies could become something else. Maybe not friends, but at least not enemies anymore. The news of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than light. A single human warship had defeated the legendary Crimson Armada. The impossible had happened again. And this time, humanity had shown not just strength, but mercy. That combination impressed even the most cynical civilizations. On the Talvarian homeworld, Emperor Carvoth watched footage of his fleet's defeat. He watched his flagship explode. He watched his best commander surrender. His throne room was silent. His advisors were afraid to speak, but silence can only last so long. The people of the Talvarian Empire had suffered through this war. They had lost sons and daughters. They had watched their economy collapse under military spending. They were tired, and they were angry at the emperor who had brought them to this point. The resistance movement that had been secretly helping humanity saw their opportunity. They organized protests. They spread information about the emperor's failures. Within weeks, the protests became a revolution. Emperor Carvoth was overthrown, and a new government was formed. The new Talvarian leaders reached out to humanity immediately. They offered a peace treaty. They recognized human sovereignty over their colonies. They promised to never threaten humanity again. It was everything Connor had fought for, achieved without destroying an entire civilization. The Vrexian Dominion watched all of this with great interest. Their High Council met in emergency session. Some members argued that humanity was too dangerous and should be stopped before they grew even stronger. But others pointed out the mercy humanity had shown. A species that powerful could have committed genocide but chose not to. In the end, the Vrexian Dominion chose dialogue over conflict. They sent ambassadors to humanity, proposing cultural exchanges and trade agreements. Agent Nina Cross, who had betrayed them to help humanity, was offered a pardon and asked to serve as the first Vrexian ambassador to human space. She accepted, seeing it as a chance to build bridges between worlds. The Corthan Collective was in shambles. The civil war that followed their exposed betrayals tore them apart. Dozens of smaller governments emerged from the wreckage. Many of these new governments looked to humanity for guidance. They saw how humans had fought with honor and won with compassion. They wanted to learn from that example. 6 months after the final battle, representatives from 73 different civilizations gathered at a space station called Unity Point. It was the largest diplomatic gathering in galactic history. And at the center of it all was humanity, the species that had been ignored and dismissed just a year ago. Admiral Connor Hayes was asked to speak at the opening session. He stood before delegates from across the galaxy, feeling the weight of their attention. He thought carefully about what to say. This moment would shape the future. "Representatives of the galactic community," Connor began, "we are here because of war, because of conflict, because civilizations attacked each other instead of working together. For too long, the galaxy has been ruled by fear and force. The strongest took what they wanted and the weak suffered." He paused, looking around the room. "Humanity was nearly destroyed because we were seen as weak. We survived because we proved we were not. But strength alone is not enough. If we only learn how to be strong, we become the same tyrants we fought against. I propose something different, something better. I propose the Interstellar Compact, a treaty based on mutual respect. No civilization has the right to conquer another. No species has the right to enslave another. We are all different, but we all deserve freedom and dignity. This compact will have rules. Violations will have consequences. But it will also have benefits. Trade, technology sharing, cultural exchange. We can accomplish so much more together than we ever could alone. The choice is yours. Each civilization must decide for itself, but I hope you will join us in building a better galaxy. Not through conquest, but through cooperation. Not through fear, but through friendship. The response was mixed. Some civilizations embraced the idea immediately. Others were skeptical. A few refused entirely, preferring isolation to cooperation. But enough agreed that the Interstellar Compact became real. It was not perfect, and it would take years to implement fully, but it was a start. Lieutenant Jake Sullivan requested a transfer after the peace treaty was signed. He wanted to work in the diplomatic corps. The young man who had been so eager for battle had learned that preventing wars was harder, but more important than winning them. Connor approved the transfer and told Jake he was proud of how much he had grown. Dr. Helen Carter destroyed all research on weapons of mass destruction. She argued that humanity's true strength should be in defense and deterrence, not in the ability to commit genocide. Some military leaders disagreed, but Connor supported her decision. He had seen enough death. He did not want to be responsible for more. Captain Lisa Morgan was offered her own command, the captaincy of the newly commissioned Silent Dawn, a fourth ship in the Valiant class. But she turned it down. She told Connor that they worked well together, and she wanted to stay as his second in command. Connor was grateful. He trusted Lisa completely, and that trust had saved them more than once. Nina Cross became something unique in galactic history. She was human by birth, raised by Vrexians, and now served as an ambassador between both civilizations. She understood both cultures and could explain each to the other. Her work helped heal the mistrust that had almost led to war. Humanity began sharing some of their technology with allied civilizations. Not the weapons, but advances in medicine, agriculture, and energy production. They showed other species how to innovate, how to think creatively, how to solve problems in new ways. The galaxy began to change, slowly but surely. 5 years passed. Connor Hayes stood on the bridge of the Valiant Dawn, watching a routine patrol route. The ship was one of 12 now. Humanity had built more advanced vessels and shared the basic designs with trusted allies. The galaxy was safer than it had been in centuries. A young ensign approached him nervously. Her name was Sophie Grant, and this was her first assignment. She looked at Connor with admiration and fear, the way young officers always looked at legends. "Sir," Sophie said quietly, "can I ask you something?" Connor smiled. "Of course, Ensign. When you faced the Crimson Armada, were you afraid? Did you ever doubt that you would win?" Connor thought about lying, about giving her some brave answer that would make him sound heroic. But he decided on the truth instead. "I was terrified," he admitted, "every single day. And yes, I doubted. I doubted whether our plan would work. I doubted whether we could win. I doubted whether I was making the right decisions." Sophie looked surprised. "But you seemed so confident. Everyone talks about how you never showed fear." "Not showing fear is not the same as not feeling it," Connor said. "Fear is natural. Doubt is natural. What matters is what you do despite the fear. You prepare the best you can. You trust your team. You make the best decision you can with the information you have. And then you act." He looked at the young ensign kindly. "Being brave does not mean being fearless. It means doing what needs to be done even when you are afraid." "Remember that," Sophie nodded, absorbing the lesson. She would remember this conversation for the rest of her career. Connor turned back to the window, looking out at the stars. The galaxy was vast and full of unknowns. There would be new challenges, new conflicts, new problems to solve. But humanity had proven they belonged here. They had earned their place not through conquest, but through courage, innovation, and compassion. The journey that had started with one ship facing impossible odds had changed everything. Entire empires had fallen not to weapons but to ideas. The idea that might does not make right. The idea that mercy is strength. The idea that different species could work together instead of fighting. Lisa walked up beside Connor. They stood together in comfortable silence, two old friends who had been through hell and back.